Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a grocery put away, produce prep, fridge clean out. Now on my channel, I want to make sure that I'm sharing with you realistic, healthy habits that will help simplify your life. So I do want you to know that this video was not filmed over one day. This took me a couple of days to do, and those days were not back to back. There was a couple of days in between where I wasn't able to get to the fridge. So that's okay. I just want you to know that progress is better than perfection, and it did get done eventually. So that's okay. So, in summary, not everything needs to be done in one day. We can't be perfect every single day. You got this, and so do I. So, let's jump into this video and get my fridge clean because it is yucky and it definitely needs it this week. So, let's take a trip back in time to the day that I actually got groceries. I am one of those people that can not remember to bring bags to the grocery store to save my life. And if I do remember to bring them, I still forget to bring them into the store. So if you're one of those people too, let me share with you how I turned that around for myself. So, years ago, I officially accepted that I will never remember to bring anything into the grocery store. So, my new normal is to use bins instead of bags. I keep these bins in my trunk all the time. They can be handy for more things than just groceries. So, when I'm done grocery shopping, I roll my cart on out to my car and load the groceries into the bins directly, like in the parking lot. These bins just live in my trunk. They're always there. They're big, bulky, and bright green. So when I'm done unloading them in my kitchen, I leave them in my entryway so that I always remember to put them back into my trunk where they will be stacked up nice and neat and I don't have to look at them anymore in my house. My entryway opens right up into my living area, so there's no avoiding looking at them as they sit there. So just don't get down on yourself if you can't remember to do something that you feel like you should be remembering to do. Just find ways to change it up, make things work for your lifestyle. So, for me, switching from bags to bins was just such a game changer, and now I never have to worry about not having anything to put my groceries in again. In an effort to keep my word and make realistic videos for you, allow me to speak some truths here. So, in order to keep my fridge organized and clean, and to keep track of all the food that I have on hand to minimize the food waste in my home, I do have to dedicate some time to this. So, in a perfect world, I dedicate one day a week to groceries and my fridge, depending on what needs attention that week. So, when I say one day a week, I don't mean the whole day, just one day a week to spend a little bit of time on food and fridge. So, this being said, there's only so much time in a day, and this is real life. This week, I needed groceries and a good fridge deep clean, so things just took a bit longer. Sometimes I can do what needs to be done in 10 minutes, sometimes it can take an hour, and sometimes, like this week, it can take up to 3 hours. So the length of time it takes depends on many factors, like how many groceries I have on hand, how many groceries I need to buy, if any, how dirty my fridge is. You will see in this video that we're really in for it this week. How many containers I have that are clean to put my produce in, or even just simply my mood, because some days we just move slower than others. Am I right? So, as you've seen, I started to put things away. I put my food in the freezer first and then my bakery items in the cupboard. I set aside my produce by the sink because I'm going to be washing that later. I put my meat and dairy products into the fridge and then I start working on my pantry items. In a perfect world, I give my fridge a wipe down while my produce is drying so that I can put everything away into a nice clean fridge. This night, it was already late. I think you can see in a couple of the clips that it's between 8 and 9 p.m. So I got everything into the fridge in this video, and then I left the fridge cleaning for another day. I know that decanting things into containers was a huge trend, and I've noticed that I'm seeing people become more and more realistic with this. So I don't decant everything. I used containers for places in my home that I'm tight on space for, and I only use them for products that I cycle through frequently. So for me, that's pasta. So you can see here that most of my pasta and rices and beans are in containers, and this is just simply to make pantry Tetris easier for me. So, up next is washing all of my produce. So, similar to pantry Tetris, I do use produce containers to keep my vegetables nice and organized in my fridge. I like to have everything washed so that it's ready to go when I need it. Because it is late at night, I do have some dishes to tackle quickly so that I can use my sink. So I'm just loading up my dishwasher and then just washing a couple of lids that don't fit or I just don't like to put into my dishwasher. And then we're going to get into the produce soak. Now that the sink is nice and clean, I'm going to start by filling it with room temperature to cool temperatured water. I use a veggie wash to soak my produce in to get it nice and clean. This container that I showed you is actually from years ago when I did buy that product. But full disclosure, I am now just using that container. I make my own veggie wash out of Dr. Bronner's cleaner concentrate. If you watch my bathroom clean with me, I had a comment asking me about the cleaning product that was in my spray bottle. So it is the same product that I'm using here. I use Dr. Bronner's. I use this to make most of my cleaning products. They have lots of recipes on their website for different surfaces, and one of the recipes is for a veggie wash. So that's what I'm using here. I'm just going to let the produce soak for a few minutes and then I scrub it clean and rinse it with some clean water. So please remember that I am new here to YouTube and I do value your feedback. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always want to make sure my videos are improving for you and that they are informative and motivational. So be sure to subscribe if you like my content. My intention is to upload a video weekly for you. I want to give you all the motivation to live your easiest homemaking lives here on Simple Living with Caitlin. Make sure that you let your produce dry as long as possible before putting it into containers. If you're new to produce prep and you want to give this a try, that will be my biggest tip for you. Moisture is your enemy. So, the more dry you can keep your items, the longer they are going to last in your fridge. So, like this evening for me, if you don't have time to let the produce air dry on your countertop, just use a towel, try and get as much of the moisture off as you can before putting things into containers and putting it into your fridge. Maybe I'm alone here, and if you are someone who produce preps at home, maybe you can comment below and let me know if you agree. But isn't there just something so lovely about looking at all your nice and clean vegetables out on your countertop before putting them away? So I'm about to hit a bit of a bump in the road here when I realize that most of my containers are still in my fridge. So I'm going to go through and see what has gone bad from my previous meal plan. Shout out to my meal plan video. If you missed that one last week, be sure to check it out. This week I did pretty good and I only ended up throwing away a tiny piece of yellow pepper and about 2/3 of a cucumber. I'm usually better at merging my vegetables as I merc as I work my way through my meal plan, so that like washing my produce containers through the week instead of having to do it on the same day that I'm washing my produce. So what I mean by that is these like tomatoes, carrots, and peppers could have all gone into one container. I didn't need to have those three containers still sitting in my fridge. So unfortunately, real life, this is just what happened this week. So we are going to be washing some containers. This week, I have to wash a lot of containers, which made this process a lot longer than it usually is. My husband is out currently shoveling our driveway while I'm doing this, so I do have time to do this that's not going to take away from spending any time with him. As you saw in the beginning of my video, I had snow boots and a winter coat on, so we do get a lot of snow where I live, and this particular day we had a ton of snow. So I know that he's going to be out there for quite a while shoveling, so I have plenty of time to get these containers washed up so that I can finish my produce prep. So since I wish I could do this in real life, let's go ahead and speed through these dishes and get back to the produce prep. So you could see that I was drying off my tomatoes there before putting them into this container. So this is your reminder. You want to make sure that things are as dry as possible when putting them into these containers. I always set the lids to sealing. I just find that I have better luck keeping my vegetables good for longer if I don't have the lids set to venting. They're actually set to sealing. So keep everything dry, keep everything in an airtight container, and that's what's been working for me. So I'm just putting things in the containers that they best fit, and if I do have extra room, I will combine more than one vegetable type into one container. I obviously don't want to fill my fridge with containers. I still want to be space conscious, so whatever I feel is making sense that day is how I am distributing the vegetables amongst my containers. I feel like moisture is the word of this video, so I apologize if you're one of those people that doesn't like that word. But once again, you can see that I put a paper towel in the bottom of a mason jar here. I use paper towel to help me keep any leafy greens more dry because I just find, just due to the shape of them, they hold water in lots of different places. And so I do my best to pat everything dry. And you saw I was using a salad spinner earlier, which gets rid of a ton of water. If you don't have a salad spinner, I highly recommend it. But I still use the aid of a paper towel to soak up any moisture that is still going to run off of these leafy vegetables. So this is basil that I have right here. I'm going to be putting this in a mason jar with a paper towel in the bottom. Sometimes I'll put a paper towel in the top as well if I feel like I can't get the leaves very dry. I'll usually do this if I'm washing like parsley because I just feel like there's more of it. There's more places for water to get trapped. So I'll do paper towel on the bottom and paper towel on the top, and then I will seal the jar um, with the lid. Not like an actual seal, like you're canning vegetables, just like put the mason jar lid on the container. um, Anyways, you're gonna see me do it with my spinach as well. I'm gonna put my spinach in a regular produce container, and then I will put a piece of paper towel on the top of the spinach. And then as I go through the week, if I'm pulling spinach out of the container and I notice that the paper towel is really damp, I will replace it with a fresh one because I just find it goes a long way in keeping your leafy greens fresh for longer. I mentioned that seeing freshly washed produce on my countertops gives me joy. Well, I get a similar lovely feeling of accomplishment when I see all my vegetables already in their containers like this. So I'm gonna get this food into my fridge, and then that is where I end up calling it for the night. All right, let's flash forward in time to when I was able to get my fridge organized and cleaned. So, I have a horrible memory. I couldn't tell you what I did yesterday, but if I do remember correctly, I did not get around to cleaning my fridge until 4 days after I had gotten groceries. I had pizza night with a friend, we had the Super Bowl, my husband made me a spontaneous off meal plan dinner. Something else happened, I'm sure, but like I said in my meal plan video, my 7-day meal plans usually last longer than a week because life happens. Well, this is your proof. So I think I was actually on day 5 of my quote unquote meal plan before I actually made a meal that was on the plan. So, aside from the fact that my husband and I love our condiments, that is why my fridge is still so full so many days later. Like how I do all of my other cleaning, I start from the top and work my way down. So, starting with the top shelf, I take everything out section by section, and in an effort to keep our food as cold as possible throughout the process, I work one shelf at a time. So, I'm just going to take everything off the top shelf and then I'm going to close the door while I wash the shelf and proceed that way. Just so that I'm not taking all of this stuff out of my fridge. I do keep a pretty full fridge, as you can see, at all times. So to take everything out, I have limited counter space and I don't want things sitting on my countertop for too long. So that is how I'm going to be completing this video. So, I'm not going to say that I'm embarrassed because I'm sure a lot of you out there have fridges that look like this, but I was really shocked at how dirty and sticky this shelf was. I do pay attention to my fridge on a weekly basis and wipe spills out as I see them, but clearly this shelf in particular had really gotten away from me. There was so much sugar and just I don't even know what else stuck on this. What I ended up doing with that first cloth that I was using is I actually just used boiling water to get the sugar off, and then I used my spray bottle all-purpose cleaner to sanitize the shelf and put it back. So much better. It's so satisfying to be able to see through that glass now. So I also just wanted to mention, as I am putting stuff back into my fridge, I am checking expiry dates. So you are going to notice that there are a few things that don't make it back into my fridge. I did have to throw away a small amount of Clamato juice and quite a bit of cranberry juice. We're just not big juice drinkers in my house, so that didn't really surprise me. We do enjoy our Caesars in the summertime. Shout out to my Caesar drinkers. I feel like you either love them or you hate them, or maybe you don't even know what they are. But the fact that a Clamato went bad didn't really surprise me because we usually drink those in the summer. So this video is a bit of a longer one, so I just want to do a quick thank you to those of you who are sticking it through to the end with me. Doing this deeper fridge clean is going to set me up for success when I do my weekly fridge check-ins going forward. So all of this hard work is definitely going to pay off in maintaining a clean and organized fridge. I feel like this was more of a fridge reset for me. I didn't intend it to be that way, but that's what was required. But going forward, my weekly check-ins are going to be more about maintenance. So again, I just want to say a big thank you to those of you who stick it out for the full length of the video. So similar to Pantry Tetris, I mentioned that I like to use my produce containers to play fridge Tetris. So you could see on the shelf that I just completed that it is just so handy for me to have those produce containers, and I know exactly how they're going to fit into my fridge in that back row, and it still gives me lots of room in the front to put things like leftovers like I have on the right. That big glass bowl has all of the vegetables that I prepped for tonight's dinner in it. I like to pre-prep my vegetables and have space to keep them in the fridge because I weigh everything out. I am one of those people that counts my macros. I get a lot of comments that I'm insane, but it's something that keeps me healthy and I really enjoy doing. So I often need to have space in my fridge because I like to pre-weigh out all my ingredients in the morning so that I don't have to do it throughout the day. So fun fact about me. And moving on to cleaning the third shelf here. In case I haven't mentioned it before, the cleaner that I'm using is 99% organic or something like that. So part of the reason that I use that cleaner is because I am very comfortable spraying it in my fridge, in my shower, on any surfaces that are going to come into contact with food or my skin. So I just wanted to be transparent with that. That I can spray this on my surfaces and wipe it off no problem. I'm not worried about my food coming into contact with it. Okay, let's talk about nuts. So I just recently read something that said that you're supposed to keep nuts in the fridge. Comment down below, what are your thoughts on this? I always kept nuts in my pantry because I try to follow like grocery store rules. At the grocery store, they're not refrigerated, so I feel like they shouldn't be refrigerated at home. However, I went to do a breakfast meal plan and try a couple new recipes, and a lot of them involved some different types of nuts. I went through my pantry to see what I had on hand and pretty much threw out everything that I had. Everything was just like stale and not tasting right. So I have switched to putting my nuts into mason jars and keeping them in my fridge. And so far that's working out well for me, but I'm just curious, did you guys know that? Is that wrong? Did I read that on a crazy page that's not real life? I'm not sure, but that's why I have so many mason jars on that shelf in my fridge. So let's dive into this. I had a feta incident. I was I don't know. This is my cheese drawer, obviously, as you can see. I had a container of feta in here, and it was like the brick of feta that's in the brine. And I don't know if there was a crack in the bottom of the container or I didn't put the lid on it properly, but it ended up in this drawer upside down and made quite the mess. So I did know that I was coming into this today. I have been eager to get this nice and clean because it's pretty crusty and gross, but that's what happened there. All right, don't go anywhere. This is about to get a little bit yucky. When I'm doing my weekly fridge kind of wipe downs, they're really very casual and I'm wiping around things, I'm not taking them out. I never do the door, if I'm being completely honest. Taking out all the condiments just seems like such a chore. So when I'm taking things out of my door and cleaning it, it's because I know that it's really gross and it hasn't been done in a very long time. So this is what we are looking at. It is pretty yucky. I keep a lot of our jams and syrups and sauces in the door, so things are pretty sticky and we've got to give this some loving. So I'm gonna make a couple of efforts here. Number one, I'm trying to film with one hand and wipe with the other. It's challenging, but we get it done. I wanted to make sure that I was nice and close up for you so that you could see the butter on the door and whatever else is in this lovely fridge door of mine. And then in an effort to make this video just a little bit shorter, I am going to speed it up for you. So I apologize for the shaky footage, but I think it's worth it. All right, that is looking so much better. I'm so happy to finally have a clean fridge. Now just putting everything back in the door. I had to play a little bit of Tetris to get everything to fit. I try my best to keep like items together so that if we're having burgers, I know that the ketchup, mustard, relish, and mayo is all together on the bottom there. You can see me putting salad dressings together. I do try to keep everything in order. It just helps me with knowing what's going bad and what I'm using and what I'm not using. For instance, if we're having salad, I can see all the salad dressings that are available. I can quickly check the dates to see which one's going to go bad, if I should be using that one instead of another. So making an effort to get everything to fit and to keep like items together here. My husband and I are huge hot sauce fans, so I have a whole section dedicated to hot sauces, and I actually ended up putting a bunch down in our pantry too because they weren't open yet, and we just don't have room to keep them in here, so we've got to use up some of these before we open any new ones. So you'll see here that anything that I can't fit in the door, I will just put in that empty space on my top shelf. Here is the final overview. My fridge is looking so much better, especially that top shelf and the door. There is a jam jar that has jam dripping down the front of it. You can see right here. I kind of wish I would have wiped that, but it's real life, and that jar still looks like that to this day. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you liked it, and I hope that you found the motivation that you were looking for to get your groceries put away, your produce prepped, or your fridge cleaned. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up for me. Make sure that you leave your comments down below for me. Any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and have those notifications turned on so that you know when I post my next video. Next week, I'm planning on uploading an evening kitchen cleaning routine for you. Hope to see you there. Bye for now. Clamato juice. That is not what Clamato is supposed to look like. Oh, I almost just took everything out to put it right back in without wiping anything down. Jazz hands.